So the Renegade Playbook, those that have watched me here since 22 will have seen some changes as we move along. We had the original focus on the Carpentaria joint venture, and then we've pushed into the United States last year. So just after I spoke here at this same time last year, we announced towards the end of June that we'd acquired some projects in the US at a pretty attractive price. So our playbook is to acquire, advance, and then drill and monetise. And we've now done that a couple of times, as I'll demonstrate. First time we did it was sort of 2019 through to 2022, which we did over in WA, where we acquired a bunch of ground. We did some work on it. We then got involved in some sort of M&A activity with Strickland. We sold them our properties, and we were able to generate about 3-4 million cash out of that, which carried us for a couple of years without coming back to the shareholders. And the most recent one, of course, is what we've done with Carpentaria. So globally, we've moved out of Australia. I was attracted to the US. I'll be very frank, when I saw Trump re-elected at the end of 24, I kind of went, it's probably time to go over there because we're welcome as miners. Sort of started feeling that we weren't so welcome in Australia anymore, as much as we would love to continue working here, and we will do that. But also the opportunity presented over there with a very cheap, as I said, entry cost into some pretty nice projects in Nevada. The Yukon project is a legacy asset which we thought, I've sold it twice under option agreement to some of the scallywags in Vancouver, so again we generated money out of that, but it kept coming back. It's zinc, it's a little bit difficult, but earlier last year, as we announced, we found some pretty exciting stuff there in respect to reduced intrusives. So just a quick look at the value story up front. The bear case, which is where we're at the moment, we think this is a flaw in our price. We've been reorganising the portfolio, selling something, developing the others, moving it along. We think we see a re-rate here, which has happened before with our story, where we start work, we have some success, we get re-rated on the back of that. And of course, we all dream about having the really solid discovery hole, which potentially sees that nice big bagger that everyone's looking for, including myself. So proof of execution around what we do with this playbook of ours. Firstly, I talked about Wiluna. The Carpentaria joint venture, I don't know if anybody was in the room last year and remembered, but I was up here trying not to swear about our partner. No names, no pack drill, Glencore. I was very frustrated because we weren't advancing the project. I stopped funding this part of the joint venture because we'd been doing a bit of an earn back on it. We came up with the deposit. It's contiguous to True North's Taipan deposit. It was always a no-brainer that the two were put together. And during last year, we got involved in discussions with True North and Glencore and ourselves. It was a frustrating process to try and get some sort of outcome for all of the parties, including Queensland. And ultimately what we did was I sat down with the True North guys and they have bought us out of the joint venture. So there's a little bit of a shake-up going on up in that region, as you've probably seen. I mean, Hammer got bid for yesterday, interesting. Austral's definitely acquisitive. True North's in play. And part of that deal was we get cash and shares. So we're very leveraged to True North for our future there. So, I mean, I have some pretty strong, reasonably positive views on where I think True North goes with this, and we'll be part of their journey. And with a bit of luck, a bit like Strickland, we'll see some really handy share price appreciation, and we end up making good money out of that transaction. Swinging into the Yukon, which I introduced last year, we went out and did some work. We've got the zinc deposit, but what we didn't really know was that we also had a stonking intrusive there with, you know, high-grade silver, gold, antimony, and the like. And basically we sort of looked at that as, hey, maybe that's going to be our next play. The Andrew deposit's there as well, and we've also uncovered the Junction prospect later in the year, which also looks like another, large-scale retrusive. Mishka is located, I think it's important to talk a little bit about Mishka. It's located about 80 k's from a recent discovery by Snowline Gold. Snowline's currently around 10 million ounces. That particular project was vended by the same party that vended our ground into this company many, many years ago. And the family behind it have a free carry 10% in it. So the trick for Mishka is to get into it and drill. Drilling it's ready to drill. Drilling in the Yukon is very expensive, not necessarily difficult, but it's all heli-assisted stuff. I'm currently talking to the Snowline family, for want of another word, about putting something together to fund this. The one thing I'm finding there is that it's a bit like Kalgoorlie, Stu. If you go to Kalgoorlie, if you're not on the inside, you're on the outside. And Yukon's not dissimilar, I've noticed, with the way that we don't get treated badly, but being on the inside over there is useful. So I think teaming up with the Rhombodale guys, that family behind Snowline, I think will be very positive as we look to drill this thing and see what we've got. But we're very bullish on it. We like it a lot. You can see there's big numbers in here, with the gold and the silver and the antimony and all that sort of stuff. So it could be big. Junction we regard as an emerging potential large-scale target. We'll be doing some field work there this season, so we'll be getting stuck into that on that basis pretty shortly. And there's Andrew, so 12.5 million tonnes, sort of okay grade, three separate deposits. It's got some significant critical defence minerals within it, which we also pulled out when we went through all the assay sheets to see what was going on within it. So it is of interest, and at some point maybe it comes out of the ground. Nevada, as I mentioned, was sort of an opportunity that got put in front of me. We picked up all these projects for about 150 grand US. It was sort of just as people were looking at the US, and I think it was very cheap and opportunistic. We've got two properties there which I don't speak to in these slides, which are heavily drilled, which we are now doing desktop work on just to see exactly what went on with that drilling, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I come back to it. Caisson is probably our best and most immediate prospect, and it's a mixture of this high-grade gold, silver plus copper. It's got a porphyry element to it. It's sort of just down the road from one of the big porphyry plays. We regard that this is our number one exploration target. So we're currently doing work on that now and looking to get back on the ground, fly some geophysics, and we believe it'll be drill ready. So we'll be looking to drill that around September. So that's the plan at the moment. There's a little tight getting rigs in the States, but luckily, because I'm now a Queenslander, I've actually met a Queensland driller here who's got two drills locked up in a shed over in Nevada, and he's very keen to get them out and get them to work. So with a bit of luck, we'll be out drilling that soon. Same for Broken Hills, stonking numbers, big trend, undrilled, so basically needs some testing, and I think within that same sort of time frame, in that sort of Q3 moving into Q4. Wyoming, the Rooster Hill project is very much something that came across my desk. I did a fair bit of work around mineral sands, so I was familiar with monazite and what was happening within that, as far as the new cracking techniques to get to the light rare earths and the like. So I took up that opportunity because it cost us almost nothing to grab that. We've been doing a bit of staking. We've expanded the ground position. There's a company over there called Energy Fuels, which is currently treating monazite on their plant 700 miles away. Believe it or not, the monazite that they use in that plant comes from Astron down in Victoria. So we're just having some preliminary chats with some people up there about looking to get the work going on that project. It's very specific, this type of thing. It's not quite my cup of tea as in expertise, but I sort of get where we're going with it, and it might be one of those sleeping assets that turns into something pretty special for not a lot of money. Just coming back to Nevada and the whole scene there, I think what we've noticed with my Aussie geos that I work with is that it feels a little bit like WA back around 1990 odd. A lot of shallow drilling, not a lot of deep stuff. They very much stuck to a bit of their playbook was oxide production. So a lot of the holes over there are 50, 100 metres, not much deeper. Very rare that they went deeper than that. And I guess what we saw in WA was something like a Kanowna Belle, which had 10 and 20 metre vertical holes drilled over it because there was a bit of a show, but nothing found. They were walking over it for 100 years. And all of a sudden somebody Delta Gold drilled deeper, and guess what? Still producing today, 30 years later. So recently in Nevada, I think the big success story there has probably been driven by Anglo Ashanti, who picked up some ground, did exactly that, went a bit deeper, 14 million ounces so far. So I think Nevada, believe it or not, is underexplored. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't sort of tripped over it myself, but great place to work, no native title, a little bit slow in some aspects, a little bit more expensive than Australia, but generally a very friendly and relatively easy place to work, and I think currently rated #1 in the Fraser. So. But we haven't left Queensland as much as we've sold the joint venture. Still got ground. I pegged the town site, which is just north of the Great Australia Mine. So we've kept that. That's not part of the deal. I still suspect that there's an ore body under the town because that's where they usually are. So we'll see how that plays out. I've also picked up ground. I'm old enough to have been around when Selwyn was being mined. It was a stonking mine, 4% copper, 2-3 grams gold. So I've picked up the ground down there. It just happens that my geo wingman worked at Elders when they owned it back in the 80s, 90s, so he knows it very well, and we've started work on that because it doesn't cost us a lot of money, but we're looking at doing some work on that. Central West Queensland is, again, another one of those things that I picked up initially for the critical mineral potential, maybe the vanadium. It also happens to have the shale. There's a substantial amount of oil out there, which is interesting. Whether it comes out of the ground, I don't know, but it's really costing us nothing to hold it. And we're going to do a little bit of work there this season. So the team that we've got is this Pete. I'll start with Pete Rowley over there, who's my geo wingman, helps me with all this stuff. Pete's way qualified to do all this. He's worked in Alaska and all around the world, Queensland, you name it, he's worked there. Mark Wallace, who's one of my old mates. Mark Connolly, again, another old mate. Mark, like myself, really does like to deal with assets in the best way, so monetise them as soon as you can for the best possible result for shareholders. I don't know if that's our share price today. We've been knocked around a bit because the question I always get, when are you going to drill? Well, the answer is soon, probably Q3, so we'll get up and running. I've got access to cash, and you can see the catalysts there. Mishka potential this season, 2,000 metres. It's a big test. Junction, definitely do the field programs. Caisson, looking to drill out Q3, and then Broken Hills as well. Rooster Hill, a little bit of work. And of course, right now, we're just in a bit of a hold period because the offer for CJV is subject to right of first refusal from Glencore. Now, they're not going to exercise it, but they won't sign the piece of paper, the waiver paper that I put under their nose, of course. But we're expecting that to close next week. And the wheels will be on the wagon and we'll be off and running. Thank you for staying, and thank you for your attention. Thank you, Stewie.